My family kicked me out for not giving my lazy brother $37,000. Now they're lying, I abandoned them. But what they never expected is I blocked everyone, and they're desperate. I'm 19 years old, studying business administration and working part-time at a coffee shop near campus. And I need to tell this story because what happened like 2 months ago basically left me without a family. But honestly, I think I did the right thing, even though there are days when I'm not so sure. I guess I should start from the beginning, or explain how I managed to save $37,000 at my age, because yeah, that amount is real, and no, I didn't earn it selling anything illegal or weird. It was hard work over 4 complete years. When I was 15, my dad told me something that stuck with me. He said that if I wanted something in life, I had to work for it because he and my mom weren't going to be able to pay for my college or help me start any business, and I was okay with that. Honestly. Because since I was little, I always had that mindset of wanting to make my own money. So I got my first job at 15, washing dishes at a restaurant on weekends. They paid me peanuts, but it was something. From there, I became a waitress. Then I worked at a clothing store. Then at the coffee shop where I am now. And in summer, I always looked for extra jobs like babysitting or doing yards or whatever. Every cent I earned. Well, not every cent, but 80%. I put it in a savings account. I opened in my name. My plan was always clear. I wanted to have enough money so that when I finished college, I could start my own business. I don't know exactly what kind of business yet, but something related to digital marketing or maybe an online store. I'm still deciding. My parents always knew I was saving. I mean, it wasn't a secret, although I never told them the exact amounts because I felt it wasn't necessary, you know? It was my money. Earned with my effort. My brother Daniel, who's 24 years old, 5 years older than me, well, he's a completely different story. Daniel has never been one to work much, let's say. When I started working at 15, he was 20 and was at home doing nothing. He had dropped out of college after 2 semesters because he said it wasn't his thing, and my parents never pressured him to get a job or anything. I'd come home after working 8 hours on a Saturday, tired and with sore feet, and he'd be on the couch playing video games or watching Netflix, and my parents said nothing. It was normal for them. It was always like that, honestly. Daniel was like the golden child. You know what I mean? He could do whatever he wanted, and my parents justified everything. If he couldn't find a job, it was because the economy was bad. If he left a job after 2 weeks, it was because the boss was an idiot. If he didn't help around the house, it was because he was tired or stressed. Me, on the other hand, if I got a B in school, it was because I wasn't trying hard enough. If I complained about being tired, it was because I was exaggerating. If I asked for something, it was because I was selfish. I don't know. I guess I always saw it as normal because it was all I knew. But looking back, I should have seen coming what would happen. Fast forward to 3 months ago. I had just turned 19. I was in my second year of college, working at the coffee shop, and I had also gotten an extra job doing freelance graphic design online, which was paying me pretty well. My savings had reached $37,000, which seemed incredible to me. I couldn't believe I had done it. I was so proud of myself. You know? I felt like all the sacrifice, all the hours of work, all the Fridays and Saturdays I missed going out with friends. Everything had been worth it. I hadn't told anyone the exact amount, not even my best friends. They just knew I had a good savings stashed away. And then Daniel came home one day super excited saying he had found the perfect apartment. Turns out he had been looking at apartments. Though I don't know with what logic, because he didn't have a job, didn't have savings, didn't have anything, but whatever. The apartment he found was in an expensive area of the city, like one of those new buildings with a gym and pool and all that, and the rent was $1,800 a month, plus security deposit of another $1,800. So he needed $3,600 just to move in. When he said it, we were all in the living room, and I remember thinking, okay, and where is he going to get that money? But I didn't say anything because, honestly, it wasn't my problem. My mom told him the apartment looked really nice, but it was very expensive, and Daniel said yes. He knew. But it was perfect for him, and he needed to move out because he couldn't keep living at home with us. That he was already 24 and needed his space. My dad stayed quiet but had that face he makes when he's thinking about something, you know? And I just kept eating my dinner thinking that, well, It would be interesting to see how Daniel was going to solve this, considering he had absolutely no income. What happened next? Honestly, I still have trouble believing it. Like 2 days after that, my parents asked me to sit down with them in the living room because they needed to talk to me about something important. Daniel was there too, sitting with his arms crossed. I thought maybe they were going to tell me they needed me to pay rent or something like that, which would have been fine. I mean, I was 19 and working. It seemed fair to contribute. But no, what they said was completely different. My dad started by saying they knew I had been saving money for years, and that they were very proud of me for being so responsible and hardworking. So far, so good, right? But then my mom said that Daniel needed help moving out and that as a family we had to support each other. And then my dad dropped the bomb. He said they needed me to give Daniel my savings money so he could pay the deposit and the first months of rent for the apartment. Basically, they wanted me to give him everything. The $37,000 that had taken me 4 years to save. I was in shock. Like, literally couldn't process what I was hearing. I asked them if they were serious, and my mom said yes, that it was the right thing to do. That Daniel was my older brother and he needed my support at this moment in his life. I said no. That money was for my future, for my business. That I had earned it working since I was 15 while Daniel did nothing. And that's when things got really ugly. My dad raised his voice and told me I was being selfish and ungrateful, that they had given me a roof and food for 19 years, and that the least I could do was help my brother. I tried to explain that I had also contributed to the house, that I bought my own food most of the time, that I paid for my gas, my phone, my college books, everything. But they didn't care. My mom started with the story that family comes first and that money comes and goes, but family is forever, and Daniel was just sitting there saying nothing, like waiting for me to give in. I told them I wasn't going to give Daniel my money, that if he wanted such an expensive apartment, he should get a job and save it himself, like I did. My dad turned red with anger and told me I had a week to think about it and make the right decision, or else there would be consequences. I asked him what kind of consequences, and he just said, "You'll see," with that voice that was scary. I got up and went to my room because I felt like if I stayed there, I was going to explode or cry or both. The next week was hell. I'm not exaggerating. My parents basically made my life impossible at home. My mom would say things like, "I can't believe you prefer money over your brother," or, "When you need help, don't expect anyone to be there for you." My dad stopped talking to me completely, like he treated me as if I were invisible. Daniel sent me messages saying I was ruining his life and that I was a horrible sister. I felt really bad. You know? I started doubting myself, thinking, maybe I am selfish? Maybe I should help him? But then I'd remember all the sacrifices I had made, all the times Daniel could have worked and didn't, and I'd get angry. I talked to my best friend, told her everything that was happening, and she told me I was crazy if I gave Daniel the money, that my parents were being super unfair, and that I didn't owe them anything. She also offered that if things got really bad, I could stay at her apartment with her and her roommate for a while. That calmed me down a bit, knowing I had a way out if I needed it. The week passed and my parents sat me down again. My dad got straight to the point. He told me I had 2 options. Either I gave Daniel the money, or I left the house. Just like that. That cruel. My mom tried to soften it by saying they weren't kicking me out, that it was just a consequence of my selfish decision, but in the end it was the same thing. Daniel was there again, and this time he had like a smile, like knowing they were going to force me to give him the money. I told them no, that I wasn't going to give him my money, and my dad said, "Then you have until Sunday to get your stuff out of here." It was Thursday. I had 3 days to find somewhere to live and move. I didn't cry at that moment. I don't know why. I guess I was in shock. I just said, "Okay," and went to my room. Once in my room, I did cry. I cried a lot, because I couldn't believe my own parents were doing this, that they were kicking me out of the house for not giving my money to my brother who had never worked a full day in his life. I called my friend and she told me to come to her apartment right then, that same night, but I told her no, that I was going to wait until Sunday like my parents had said. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still hoped they would change their minds, that they would realize how absurd all this was. But it didn't happen. Friday and Saturday, my parents acted like nothing, like they didn't even talk to me, and Daniel continued doing his thing as always. On Sunday, I packed everything I could in my car, which wasn't much, Because I have a small 2015 Honda Civic, but I fit my clothes, my laptop, my important books, some personal things. I left a lot of stuff because it didn't fit. When I came down with the last box, my parents were in the living room watching TV, and they didn't even turn to look at me. Daniel was in his room. There was no goodbye. There was nothing. I just left. I arrived at my friend's apartment, and she received me with a hug, and that's when I broke down completely. I cried like I hadn't cried since I don't know when. I felt betrayed, angry, sad, all at the same time. I couldn't understand how my parents had chosen Daniel over me, how they had decided my future was worth less than his whim of living in an expensive apartment he couldn't afford. I stayed on my friend's couch for like 2 weeks. She and her roommate were incredible. They let me use everything. They never made me feel like a burden, but I knew I couldn't stay there forever. I kept working at the coffee shop and doing my freelance designs, trying to keep busy so I wouldn't think so much about everything. Like a week after I left, Daniel sent me a long message, like 3 paragraphs, telling me that I had ruined everything, that because of me he couldn't keep the apartment, that my parents were devastated by my selfishness, that the family was destroyed and it was all my fault. He called me a bunch of things: selfish, ungrateful, bad sister, bad daughter. I read the message like 3 times and then just deleted it. I didn't respond because I had nothing to say to him. I decided I needed to protect my money legally because I was afraid my parents or Daniel would try something weird. I don't know, like trying to access my account or something. I looked for a lawyer who offered free consultations for students at the university and went to talk to him. I explained the whole situation, and he reassured me, saying that since the account was only in my name and I was of legal age, nobody could touch that money without my permission. He also recommended that I change my account password, security questions, everything, just in case. I did all that same day and felt a bit safer. Meanwhile, I was looking for an apartment, but with how expensive everything is and being a student, it was difficult. Most places ask that your monthly income be 3 times the rent, and I didn't earn that much. But I kept looking and applying to better paying jobs. Like a month after being on my friend's couch, I got a job at a digital marketing agency. Part-time, but they paid better than the coffee shop. With that extra income plus what I earned with my freelance designs, I managed to qualify for a small studio near campus. It wasn't anything fancy, like it's super small and the building is old, but it was mine and I could afford it. I moved there like a month and a half ago. My parents and Daniel started sending me messages like 3 weeks ago. My mom wrote me saying she missed me and that we should talk. My dad sent me a super short message that said, "How are you?" Daniel sent me a message like trying to play nice, saying that things had gotten out of control and that we should forget everything and be family again. I didn't respond to any of them. 2 weeks ago, a family friend, Mrs. Martha, who has known my parents for years, called me to tell me she had heard that my parents were saying around that I had abandoned them for no reason, that I had left home because I wanted to be independent and not because of what really happened. They were like playing the victims, saying they were super worried about me and didn't understand why I had cut contact with them. They weren't telling the truth that they kicked me out for not giving my money to Daniel. Mrs. Martha told me she didn't believe them at all, because she had known me since I was little and knew I wasn't like that, but she wanted me to know what they were saying. That made me really angry, honestly. Like, not only did they kick me out of the house, but now they were lying and playing victims. But at the same time, it made me realize it wasn't worth trying to explain anything or maintain contact with them. I blocked my parents and Daniel's numbers. I blocked their social media too. I decided I wasn't going to let them keep affecting me. Now I'm focused on myself, on my studies, and my future. I still have the $37,000 in my account intact. I'm finishing my 2nd year of college. I'm doing well in my classes. I have 2 jobs I like. I live alone in my own space. Does what happened hurt? Obviously, yes. There are days when I miss my parents. I mean, not the parents who kicked me out, but the parents I thought they were before all this. But then I remember that they chose money and Daniel over me, and it passes. And my friend asked me last week if I would ever forgive my parents, if I would give them another chance. I told her I didn't know. Maybe someday, if they really apologize and acknowledge what they did. But honestly, I don't think that will happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. I'm learning that it's okay to set boundaries, that it's okay to protect your future, that it's okay to say no even if it means losing people you thought would always be there. I'm 19 years old and I'm building my life from scratch without my family's support. And even though it's hard and there are days when I feel lonely, I also feel proud of myself for not giving in, for not sacrificing my future for someone else's irresponsibility. That has to count for something, I guess.